This is Optimus Prime, a 3D printed Optimus Prime. And this is a bagel. This was one of my first 3D printed projects I did when I got my Ender 3, and since I was a beginner at the time, my print quality of this wasn't the best, if you couldn't tell. I have improved since then. For example, I'm currently printing a 3D printed Matrix of Leadership for a future video, and the print quality on this is much better than the print quality on my Optimus Prime. And over the course of the years, I've also 3D printed a Gokai red helmet. I've also 3D printed this Batman cowl. Now here's a closer look at the figure, and it looks kind of like wood, and I'm kind of cringing looking at this because it doesn't look the best. Not the 3D file though, the guy did an amazing job modeling this, it's just that my print quality doesn't do it justice. And neither does my paintwork or finish of this. Height-wise, it stands at around 8 inches and it cannot transform. There are other files of Optimus that can transform though, they're just a bit more complicated. Also, some you have to pay for and some like the one I printed are free. So if you want me to print an Optimus Prime that can transform, leave a like and comment below. I wish I could transform out of my feelings. So this figure actually prints in several different parts and you put it together like a model kit. And luckily he does provide you with instructions. So for example, the arms can come off, these little smokestacks can come off, the head can come off, the mouthpiece and eyes are a separate piece as well. The chest piece can open up, revealing a chamber for a Matrix of Leadership, which you can print, I just didn't. And it is also a separate piece in there, and these are just held in with friction so they fall off pretty easily. Also, the windows messed up during the print. Once again, the 3D file of this is really great, and he labels them by body part and color as well. And I'll go over the imperfections of my 3D print and build quality in a moment. Let's close that up. And for colors, obviously I went with the classic colors to try to make him as accurate as I could to his G1 incarnation. He's got the blue head. I didn't give him the silver there, but his faceplate is silver, his eyes are a yellowish gold. The chest piece is red. I gave him silver smokestacks. There's the grill piece at the front and the silver on the sides. His skirts over here are silver with some gold, and I forgot to paint the gold here. Now, while some figures have this yellow painted in, it's not like that in the original G1 show, but it doesn't matter because I plan on printing a new figure. I gave him blue hands, silver legs, these silver side gas tanks here, and blue feet. So over here, this smokestack is messed up, and you can definitely see a lot of lines on this. I'm not sure exactly what layer height I printed this at, but if I print something again, it's going to be at a much smaller layer height, so that way it would look better. The Matrix of Leadership that I'm printing is at a 0.12 layer height. I did use some filler primer to get rid of the lines, but it is still visible through certain angles. But on most of the figure, there's still a lot of lines that are visible. Also, this smokestack over here has some issues as well. There's a few like paint globs on here. You can see my paint application on this wasn't the greatest. There's also a lot of gaps in the print, and these little gold bits, you can see the red of the original filament coming through. So I didn't do a good job painting there. The top of the hands look kind of messy. There's a lot of stair stepping going on. Also, I think I might have made it look a little bit too glossy. On the legs over here, you can see a lot of lines. I also just remember having a lot of issues when printing these legs for some reason, because when you're 3D printing, things fail a lot. Like, what the fuck, I'm not trying to print spaghetti. That's totally not spectacular. The guy did give some panel working on the legs, which is nice. He also put the shapes on the arms. Look at the back of the figure. He has his backpack, and you can also see my sloppy paint job. You can see I missed some paint here, and you can see some writing I put on the feet. The shoulders aren't fully painted, and I got some paint on the joints here. Also at the top on the left side, there's some filament strands. Totally not pieces of my hair that you could take and clone me with. This actually happens when 3D printing sometimes. It's not ideal, so you want to get your 3D printer settings right so this doesn't happen. And I guess it's something I didn't notice when I was painting the figure on here, but now it's kind of just like stuck on there. Also for the joints, I got filler primer and paint on them, so that made some of the tolerances a little bit too tight, so I had to sand them down to get everything to fit in. Man, this video has become some kind of self-roasting session. Anyways, here it is next to Siege Optimus Prime. For some reason, I'm doing a comparison. The Debon model Optimus Prime, and that weird Superman bootleg. Now, the articulation on this figure consists of ball joints, swivels, and hinge joints. Now, some of the joints on this are super tight, while others are super loose. So the head is on a ball joint, so it can look up and down and tilt side to side. I'm not able to get the head to spin all the way around, and I don't want to break it. The arms here can move. They're also very tight. There's movement at the biceps. The elbows are kind of tight, but they can bend a lot. There is movement on the hands. There is some waist movement. These side skirt flaps can move. The front skirt flap can move. There is also leg movement at the front, and you can bring it back right there. This cannot move. You can also bring it out to the side. There's rotation at the thighs. There is a very good knee bend on this. There's also a lot of flaking as well. The feet can pivot, and they can move up and down. Honestly, I haven't messed around with the articulation on this figure too much because it's a little fragile, but that mostly has to do with my print quality and build quality rather than the file itself. So the guy who made this did a really phenomenal job, and there will be a link to that file as well as some other files in the description below. though. Now while mine is 8 inches tall, you could print this in any other size you wanted to. You just gotta be careful of the tolerance of the joints, because if you print it bigger, the tolerances will be bigger and it'll be very loose. Also, I just noticed this. There appears to be these little 2 peg holes at the bottom for a stand. Also, I haven't checked if these hands are 5mm compatible, so let me check that real quick. I'm probably gonna get some paint on this. Alright. Okay, it looks like they are 5mm compatible. Seems to be a bit loose though, and it doesn't seem like I got any paint on this. Also, a quick interjection from the future. While filming the B-roll, I accidentally broke the smokestack off. You might have noticed that in the intro. Comment below if you did. I also forgot to mention that the ion blaster in the intro wasn't 3D printed. That's from the Debon model Optimus Prime. Honestly, I just needed a really easy video to make because I'm putting out an insane amount of content and it gets a bit tiring. So let me know if you want to see more 3D printed stuff in the comments below. I swear they'll probably look better. If any of these videos on the screen appeal to you, go check them out. And a big thank you to all my patrons who support me on Patreon for only $1 a month. Now let's see if I can 3D print myself a girlfriend.